Welcome back to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quat, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Abigayle Kompst. How's it going today?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. You know, it's funny because we've known each other such a short time. Like, I think we met 48 hours ago, and then it just kind of, it's always funny when it just kind of turns that quickly. It's like, hey, you want to do a podcast? Yeah, let's do it. And can you do it?
It's a good icebreaker. We'll get to know each other here in the next 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So really excited to sit down and chat with you. I've been consuming a lot of your content over the last 48 hours or so. You got a lot of really good music. You're in the process of releasing a full-length project, is what we'll call it, because it's kind of in that mid-range of is it's an EP or a full-length album. And I'm really excited to talk about that. You dropped a new single today. Really excited to talk about that. But let's take a step back. You're from Vegas. What was it like growing up in Vegas for you?
I don't think I realized how weird it was until moving to Nashville, and people are like, "You're from where?" And so I went to high school downtown, a little performing arts school, Las Vegas Academy. I studied guitar there, and that commute is just like you drive by Fremont Street. So that's as like Vegas-y as my childhood was. Other than my mom was in Menopause the Musical at the Luxor on the Strip. So, nice. Flavors of Vegas here and there, but there are suburbs and normal growing up things. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of like the couple of years that I lived in Orlando. And it's like you go to Orlando and everybody's like, oh, you go to Disney World all the time. And it's like, nah, not really. Like, yeah, you do initially, but then it's like you pull it back a little bit. And
yeah.
So I kind of understand where you're coming from there. One of my favorite things to do is when I go to places like that to find where like the locals hang out. Like just go if there's like a bar or a restaurant or an area. And it's like, that's the kind of cities I like to go visit, is like, go get those experiences.
Definitely. I always recommend Red Rock Canyon. If you like a hike, it's just beautiful, like iron rich rocks and big mountains. So I miss that quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. It's always really cool. It like that just whole area of the country is so beautiful, and just kind of all the different experiences. It's we went to we drove my buddy and I drove up to Vegas a couple of years ago, and we stopped at the mouth of the Grand Canyon. Like there's like a little side canyon off the Grand Canyon, and it was just like, wow, this is absolutely amazing, and it's just like out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So but growing up in Vegas, you went to school for, I think I read you were a classically trained guitarist.
Yeah, it was a 4-year program of sitting with your guitar like this and finger picking. You had all these nails filed a certain way. So that's the majority of where my guitar training started. And Mr. Swick at Las Vegas Academy is great guy, great teacher. So.
Nice. What drew you to the guitar initially? Was it something that you were doing at home, or what kind of brought you to the guitar?
I guess I started with piano because my parents had my brother and I take piano lessons, and you can't really carry that around with you. So I was kind of beginning to tinker and write songs, and guitar seemed like the next best step for that.
Yeah, especially if you want to get out and like play, if you like want to move freely and play. It's like a piano keyboard isn't that mobile, whereas a guitar, it's like, oh, here we go, let's go.
For sure. There's something about that being my own instrument too, because my mom sings, my brother was playing piano and cello at the time, my dad plays bass, so no one had dibs on guitar, and that's what I wanted to do.
Nice. That's really cool. And then while you were at school in Vegas, were you just playing guitar, or were you also starting to like write your own music at that point?
I was starting to write some stuff around, I think I was 15 when I wrote my first song. It was like, this is a verse, chorus, and I actually finished it. And so yeah, that's it.
Gotcha. Did you know you were writing a song at that point, or were you just kind of messing around and it's like, oh hey, this kind of is a song?
Totally just messing around. I was learning other people's music, and I think once you get those chords under your fingers and start, creating over that, the song can happen on
Mm,
accident, and that's exactly how it
yeah,
went for me.
for sure. What kind of music were you learning at that time? Like when you were learning other people's music, what were you kind of listening to?
Oh, that's a good question. I loved Panic at the Disco. Funny enough, they have some roots in Vegas, but they're pretty odd album. Just had some really cool guitar parts. I think I had some Green Day songs, Demi Lovato, Ed Sheeran, just a real hodgepodge of, I guess mostly pop music, but
Hmm.
different different sources.
Yeah, a lot of really good guitar players as well. Like, I mean, watching Ed Sheeran play, it's like, it, yeah, I understand.
Inspiring. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Do you play instruments as well, or what?
no, I don't. I can't play. I tried in fourth grade to learn how to play the cornet, and I just didn't have the patience. I didn't have the patience to practice. And my mom, for better or for worse, she was like, "Well, if you're not going to practice, then we're not going to put you through this." So, I was like,
Totally.
I
Yeah,
don't know if it was just a matter of me not wanting to practice or me being lazy or what it was, but I just didn't have the passion behind it. So
cool, cool.
yeah. But that's always kind of the interesting situation. It's like, well, I tried, and but music is still very important in my life, like listening to it and all that stuff, and it's always been there. And but it makes these conversations a little bit more interesting because I can't, like, maybe more on the technical side of things. I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but I can put one and one together. So um so growing up in Vegas, you're going through the classical guitar program, everything's going good. What happens after you graduate from this program? Are you off to Nashville, or are you hanging around Vegas for a little bit? What's kind of the next move?
I applied to college and
Mhm.
got into Belmont. They have a songwriting program and music business. I was looking for schools that I could get a music business background in, because I just I'm a little bit of a nerd. I like school, and that was the initial discovery of Belmont, and then finding out they had a songwriting specific program kind
Mhm.
of made that my top choice, and was lucky enough to get into the program and did 4 years there. Just graduated in 2022.
Nice. And then you were releasing music throughout the entire course of your time at Belmont, correct?
Yeah, it's funny how, I mean, moving here, everyone is just putting music out all the time, and they have these really creative projects, and it feeds your creative soul and makes you want to do the same. And that's one of the things I love about living here. So
Nice.
yeah, music was coming out like sophomore year. I think I actually no, I did put out a song called Blue Jeans. Baby We're Fading, like my favorite blue jeans. That was freshman year.
Hmm.
And that's not out anywhere anymore, because it was just, not what I'm doing now. It was kind of
Yeah.
like a bossa nova groove. And um but you gotta look back fondly on those first releases, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah, for sure. Was that first release kind of more of a class project, or was it just kind of something that you did on your own?
That was something I did on my own with a friend.
Mhm.
uh, Caleb Potter, he produced that, and I think we recorded it in his dorm, and just very DIY. side project in between classes.
Those are the best. The DIY, like just kind of doing it really raw and really real and just kind of at your leisure. Sometimes those could be the best projects.
I think so. I mean, I feel like I'm still kind of doing a DIY approach. Like my last two, or this upcoming release is still a home studio, but
Mm.
we're just older and wiser and have better gear and better music knowledge. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Why do you think you ultimately took down that first song? And was it strictly because it wasn't what you were doing, or why do you think you took that first song down?
I just didn't want that to be anyone's first impression of
Mm,
me anymore. Um, I think the music video is still out there, right? My brother and I made a music video. But as far as, Spotify algorithm, I didn't want someone to click on a song that is more recent and then hear that as a second song and be like, what's going
fair,
on?
fair enough. Have you ever given thought about going to like revisit that first song and just kind of like rework it so it sounds a little bit more to what you're doing now, or is it just one of those? It's like, yeah, it's not even worth going to revisit.
I feel like I just wanted to stay in its original form.
Hmm.
And 'cause I've learned so much about what I want to say and how I want to say it lyrically.
Hmm.
There's just a big difference in the writer that wrote that song versus the writer I am now. So
So there was a, you're saying there's like a natural maturity that, and I mean, obviously growing as you grow older, that maturity happens naturally, but just as a writer, you think that maturity just kind of surpassed what that song was.
yeah, I think so.
For sure, for sure. So had, so you said you found out about Belmont just by applying to schools. It was your intention to go to Nashville at any point, or was it just kind of all like a happy coincidence?
It was a happy coincidence. I had no idea how cool this town was for music until visiting for the first time and going to Belmont. So
Because I'd have to imagine Vegas has got to be have a pretty decent, at least a decent independent scene or a music scene in general.
it's the independent scene is pretty small.
Hmm.
That's actually I would love to go back and find some cooler and more independent venues. But I guess when I was leaving, I wasn't considering myself an artist, so
Hmm.
I don't really have roots in the independent music scene there.
Yeah.
I know there is one, but it's pretty small and even like going back to visit family, I've like, where can I play original music? And there's like a handful of places
Yeah, for
here.
sure. That's always kind of interesting because you like you were been a musician for a very long time throughout as far as your life goes, but you were in a different part because you were doing like more classically trained guitar. You were in a program and you weren't necessarily writing your own music, so you weren't in the quote unquote music scene out in Vegas, and then you leave and you start releasing your own music, and it's like, oh dang, I don't have those roots in Vegas because I wasn't a part of that scene.
Yeah, that's definitely true for the most part. I will say the one place that I always love going back to is the Composer Showcase.
Hmm.
It's the Myron's Cabaret Jazz Room, and it's a whole night of um and there's a huge scene for like musical theater writing
Hmm.
because people who write for the shows on the strip like all live in
Yeah,
Vegas.
yeah,
So I've been a part of those nights where like there's an opera that's performed on stage, and then I get up and kind of do my indie folk thing, and
yeah.
then the next one is musical theater. But definitely check out the Composer Showcase if you're in Vegas.
Nice. That sounds really cool. It sounds like a writer's round, but a lot more elaborate.
Yes, they have like a house band
Mm.
generally. I last time I played there was like a four-part string section that learned my song exactly like the record, and I'd never heard that played live to its full
Mhm.
full sound. So
That's wild. That's really cool though. So now that you're out in Nashville, you're in the process of releasing your second full project, right? Because you released an EP last year, and then this year will be your second full project, correct?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what to call it. It's like 7 songs, so it's like a long EP and a short album.
Yeah.
But
You know, because it's like it people like nitpick. It's like, oh, it's an EP, it's an LP, it's a this, it's a that, and it's like it's a project at the end of the day. Like if you're putting out a group of songs, it's a project. So,
yeah.
um, what was kind of the thought process approaching this 7 song EP?
Thought process.
Like, did you just to kind of clarify and put a finer point on it? Were you like, did you set out to release another full length project, or were you just kind of working on singles and it was like, oh hey, this could be a follow up project?
I I had I think I had the group of songs
Hmm.
first. I was like, these are songs that have been with me for a while and I feel strongly about them still. And I want to produce all of them and put them out. And um, I started working with a new producer, Chris Donlin.
Hmm.
The first day we sat on the floor of his studio and I played him all the work tapes and pretty bare bones like guitar vocal and was like, how do we make all of these cohesive? Like, I want to do a full project. I want to find a sound. Because I feel like my first EP, Vegas, is a lot of different flavors of me still discovering what I want to write. Like,
Hmm.
each track is, We Found Heaven is a little more country, and Vegas is like a Nora Jones vibe. And then Making All This Up is indie pop. So it was really kind of sporadic and
Hmm.
not cohesive, but um, the goal with this project was to package the songwriting in kind of a sonic bubble that is complementary and cohesive.
So is it fair to say that this album is more true to the kind of music that you want to make moving forward?
Yeah, I feel strongly about that.
Okay.
It's like indie folk, still has those acoustic guitar elements, but there's
Mm.
more sounds and we're playing with vocal samples and filtering drums and making instruments kind of sound weird. So it, it was
Yeah,
really a fun process.
for sure. Um, so kind of sitting down and looking at the project as a whole, Secondhand was the first single that came out for this, and then you just released a Worst Gaslighter. Wow, that seems like a easy title to say, but then as it just kind of rolled out of my tongue, I was like, nope, that's not an easy title to say.
For sure.
Uh, why did you kind of choose Secondhand to be that first song out to represent this project?
I think I chose it because it's the weirdest. Like it's definitely the biggest contrast to what I was releasing before. And I kind of wanted to just make a statement of like, this is the new sound. And then everything else on the project is kind of just more stripped back than that song. So getting it all out, like cat's out of the bag, this is the weirdest thing you'll hear, and then everything else will be a little more of what you've been used to if you
Yeah,
listen to my last project.
for sure, for sure. And is Worst Gaslighter is the song that's out today. Are you looking at doing a third single before the EP releases at the end of the month, or are you just kind of the two that are out? That's the singles.
Those are the singles. The
Okay.
album will come out on the 22nd of
Okay.
September.
Gotcha. Because I was sitting there, I was looking at it, I was like, you could maybe squeeze another single, but that just would be probably not the most beneficial thing. You're probably better off just going straight into the album. But
Yeah.
that's so. Um, let's talk about Worst Gaslighter since that's the newest song out. What's the story behind this song?
Yeah. The inspiration for the songwriting started with an Instagram post. Viola Davis has a page called the Depression Project, and they post awesome infographics about different therapy topics. And this one post was about self-gaslighting, and I was reading it and kind of had a oh shoot moment of I do that and I want to not do that. So let me write about it and process it and maybe find some answer in that. So I got with my friend Sarah. It was a Zoom write. She was in London, like on study abroad. So just kind of weird circumstances for writing, but we got the song, and it's still one of my favorites that I think I've ever written. And Sarah's awesome. She's a really gifted writer. And yeah, so that's how the song came to be.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fair, very fair. How long has this full project kind of been in the works? Is this something that you've been working on since before the release of your first EP, or how long has this project kind of been in the works?
We started production in March
Okay.
and have just been in the studio when we can. But as far as the writing goes, I set a goal to write 100 songs last year,
Nice.
and ended up with 125 at the end of the year.
Sweet. Yeah.
So these were kind of 7 of those songs that like were for my artist project. And so I guess to answer your question, like a year before I was writing them, so like 2022.
Got it. Awesome. Let's talk about that project, because that project it touches on the line of something that I was talking to a couple of people about over the last few months, about just taking the shots, taking as many shots as you can, writing as much as you can. What was kind of the light switch for this project? Were you watching a YouTube video? How did you kind of come up with this project of writing 100 songs in a year?
Yeah, I was getting ready to graduate, which was super scary, and I really wanted to call myself a songwriter. So the only way that I could do that was to actually write songs. I booked as many co-writes as I could, and yeah, I guess my last semester of college, I didn't take any classes.
Mm.
I registered for spring graduation and kind of just like use the resources from Belmont. And like, I don't even know if I'm allowed to do that or how I ended up doing that. But basically, I gave myself an internship of
Mm.
a songwriting internship, self-prescribed, hitting
Guys.
up everyone I want to write with. And we wrote for like Chloe Collins, Artist Project, Molly Francis. These are all friends who are doing the artist thing. And yeah, I love writing for other people, and as well as my own stuff. So
Nice. So you just kind of saw an opportunity and was like, hey, I want to really call myself a songwriter, and just kind of figured out a way to make it all work.
yeah.
Awesome. So, you said you shot for 100 songs, but you ended up with 125, which that's amazing. If you ever do it again, it's like now you got a little bit more of a number to reach for. It's like, oh, let's
Mhm.
do 150 next, like what obviously
Right.
150, that's a lot of music to be writing in general, but with the 125 songs that you wrote, was that involving co-writes, or what are you going to do with this music now moving forward? Obviously you're releasing some of it, but is some of it for other people, or is it just stuff that was kind of getting that practice of writing music over?
Yeah, it was a mix of all of those.
Mhm.
Some of it is released by other artists. Almost all of it was co-writes. I'd say 100 out of the 125 were co-writes.
Mhm. Nice.
Um, So there's some stinkers in there for sure. And it was just, you got to show up to work. The
Yeah.
inspiration isn't there. There's nothing you can do. You showed up and, the next session will be better.
Sure. Was there a specific stinker that kind of sticks out in your mind that you're like, man, that could have been a lot better, but I just wasn't in the right frame of mind?
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Okay.
No song is like unsavable, but um
Because it's just one of those things where it's like be really, because it happens to me all the time where I build this idea up in my head and it's like, oh, this would be a really cool idea. And then you sit down to like put it together or whatever, and that motivation isn't there or that spark isn't there. And it's just
yeah,
kind of like you do it because you've built it up so long, but then you just kind of realize like, oh, this isn't as good as I thought it was going to be, you know?
totally. I definitely had a moment on, I think it was January 10th, and I hadn't written a song yet for my 100 song year.
Mhm.
And I just sat down at my desk and was like, you're writing something. And it was just very mid song. There was no like clever hook or craft to it. It was
Yeah.
just kind of like melody, words, chords, like
Yeah.
word.
You just what you realized that you'd already lost 10 days, and it was like, okay, no, you're going to sit down, you're going to put a song together. It's going to
Yeah.
be the ABCs to do re mi, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you're going to put the song together. You're going to do it, because if you don't, then it's going to be January 28th and you're
hmm
still not going to have a song to get, so
Yeah.
I understand that completely. So now that you're kind of in the middle of the release of this project, you've got two singles out. You've got the rest of the project coming out on the 22nd. What's running through your mind right now? What's kind of is there anything you're like concerned about, or where's your kind of head at right now?
I mean, promo always.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like I was doing well with the social media stuff, and then I was busy releasing the music and setting everything up, and then it's like, oh, I gotta promote.
Yeah.
But I have a couple music videos coming out. My brother
Nice.
is a DP, director of photography out in
Nice.
LA, so it was really cool to get to work together in our own creative fields.
Mm.
So that'll be after the album's out. Um, and then I made a stop motion film
No,
just myself with these little dinosaur toys. And it's very silly and very, very bad, but I'm excited to share it because it's from my heart and it goes with the song called Dinosaur Bones.
nice.
Um,
That's
yeah.
really cool. I love that. Love the stop animation stuff because, yeah, yes, it's one of those things where it's like a really fine line of being cheesy good or cheesy bad. But
Yes.
as long as like you're just having fun, it does not matter.
I
Like,
had so much fun. Like the first childlike joy I felt in many years of just like, this is so silly and no one will watch this, but I had a blast.
that's really cool. And then getting to work with your brother, that's I mean, I guess right now is probably the best time since a lot of the LA projects are on hold with everything going on out there. But
Yes.
you know, just kind of any opportunity to work with family in two fields that you both love, it's like, yes, that's amazing.
Yeah, it really just gives me chills. I love to see him doing what he loves and doing what I love and somehow like bringing people along.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so kind of looking forward, are you obviously it's really hard to think about the next project because you're in the middle of the release of this project, but are you already kind of formulating in the back of your head the next project, or are you going to kind of take some time to like let this project be what it is before you start looking at the next thing?
I haven't stopped writing. So I feel like I have some songs that I'd like to put on the next project.
Mhm.
So Yeah, I feel ready. I just want to always be putting out music and be writing music.
Nice.
Um, so yeah.
Nice. It's one of those things where it's like it seems really bad to be already thinking about that next project when you haven't even fully released this project. But in this day and age, it's like you've got to have that next project ready because there's such a lead up time to the release where, yes, September 22nd, this project is out, but by January 12th of 2024, they're going to be looking for that next project, whether it's
Mhm.
like whatever it is. Um, so it's just kind of like that day and age where you got to be a little bit more quick with your releases.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
I think that's the truth of it, and we gotta own up to it and realize that, and just make it happen.
yeah, for sure. So kind of taking a step back from everything music related, when Abigail needs time to herself, needs to step back, just decompress. What are some of your hobbies? What do you do? What do you do to kind of decompress from everything?
Hmm. Been watching a lot of Gilmore Girls
Nice.
lately.
Nice.
My first time watching it. Um, so that's good. I love just going on a walk, clear my head, and then decorating my little apartment. I just moved in to a new place, and so it's been good to like fill the walls with little thrift store finds and
Nice.
um, yeah.
That's amazing. It's yeah, I used to go to the thrift store a lot, but I don't anymore. But we have so many here in Texas. It's like maybe I need to start going back because I just remember I'd find the most random things there. So
It's so fun. I just even if I don't get anything, I love going through a thrift store and seeing. It's always finding the weirdest stuff. That's why you go.
yeah.
Like I don't
Oh,
know if you can see this. It's like wait, okay, moving the camera.
it's
It's these like two little. I think they're women, but they're holding guitars and they're just like flying together. And I
nice.
I see it and I smile. So,
That's amazing. And it
like a
gives
piece
you a nice little background for when you do podcasts and stuff like this.
Yeah,
So
this
it's
is the debut of this little corner. I did it literally last week.
nice.
These these are hot Cheetos. Hot Cheetos.
That's funny. That's so fu that's so ri that's like a thrift store piece of gold right there.
Thank you. That you made my night.
Uh, I think ultimately what you were saying about kind of decorating out your area is why I moved my podcast setup over here because it used to be over against this wall over here, and there's nothing behind here except an empty dining room. Like I don't have a table in there or anything. It's just kind of like an empty room. And so I look homeless, but I'm not, I promise.
It's nice. I see art on the wall. It's
Yeah.
great.
It's one of that's I don't know where my sister got that, but I always complain because it's like it's like one of these three-piece thing art, so it's like 3 frames, but on
Uh-huh.
this black one right here, it's just a black piece of felt, like there's nothing on it.
You're so right.
And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, why did they do that? Like that just makes no sense to me whatsoever. And my sister and I laugh about it all the time. And it's like, you know, so I got it. She got it for me like 6 or 7 years ago. So,
Yeah. I
well,
wonder what you could maybe you could get some like glow in the dark paint and do something with the last panel, but
I
it
th-
looks great as it is.
yeah, it like I mean it keeps the wall interesting. So I'm gonna just kind of leave it. But
Yeah.
I've been talking to some artist friends and like, hey, can you make something similar to this but better? You know?
Yeah. Or you could give them the blank, like the black canvas and just
Yeah,
like paint over it and
yeah.
let them
It,
go crazy.
we'll see what happens. It's one of those things where it's not at the top of my priority list right now, but it's just kind of like it's just so funny because it's a black piece of canvas.
Yeah. Fills
So
the wall. Fills the wall.
yeah. Um How often are you playing shows right now? Is that something you're doing pretty often, or
Yeah, I play out quite a bit. I'm actually getting ready to do my first DIY tour.
nice?
Um, I guess I'm starting in Montana. There's a songwriting festival out there, and so my friend John booked us some shows on the way to the festival, and then I'll come back to Nashville and leave with like a drummer and an electric guitar player, and we'll do like a trio thing all the way up to New York and DC and some cities in Pennsylvania as well.
That's awesome. We're in Montana.
Whitefish.
Okay. I
It's
feel I feel like I know that festival, but for the life of me, I can't think of it right now.
well,
Because
Under the Big Sky is like their big
Mhm.
festival there, but this is just songwriter, like Whitefish Songwriter Festival.
Mhm.
Highly recommend hanging out there. There's like great songwriters.
Yeah,
They do like a hit songwriter showcase. So
yeah,
like, people with cuts and number one hits. And then there's like the rising stars. So
yeah.
we just play writers rounds for 3 days straight, and it's a good time.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, it's I have some friends that live up in Montana, but they're not in Whitefish. They're near Whitefish, but and so I feel like they may have played that festival a couple times, but I just for the life of me,
Yeah, let me know if they're coming out. I'd love to meet them
yeah, for sure. Um, one thing I want to do here before we wrap things up, I want to play a fun little game. I hope you like games.
for sure.
All right. So I have this game that we play called That's So Random. Not that this podcast hasn't already been pretty random, but I have a random question generator and I'm going to ask you 5 random questions
Ooh,
and we're just going to go from there.
okay,
Are you a Google person or an Apple person?
Google. Oh wait, actually, I'm inconsistent in this because on my desktop, Google, but then I use Apple Maps.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm a woman of the people. I use both.
That's not as inconsistent as you'd think. I think that's pretty common for a lot of
Okay,
people, but
that's good.
you know. Okay, question 2. What do you dislike that people do online?
Uh, like people doing things online, or
Yes, like things that they do online that you don't like or that you dislike.
oh, I guess just like trolling of any kind, or just hate comments. Like that always brings down my day if someone says something mean, and I know it's not personal, but it's just
Mm,
like, why?
fair. Very fair. I completely understand. What was ruined because too many people started doing it?
Hmm. Mm, I was gonna the first thing that came to mind, I don't know if this is my final answer, but it is an answer, so it should be said. Like thrifting in general, I feel like I've been thinking a lot about how expensive Goodwill is.
Mhm.
Probably part of the problem because I go and spend my money there.
Mhm.
Sweatpants should not be $7.
Mhm.
And Goodwill knows that there's a big thrifting trend right now. And
Mhm.
so I think we're seeing some.
E Everybody's trying to go there to make money right now, and so Goodwill's like, "Well, we're gonna make our money," so
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand where you're at on that one. Alright, question 4. What would your rap name be?
Ooh, Abster 5000. This
Y
is my boss and her husband call me that sometimes. So
Okay,
it's
fair. I was just say you've had to have thought about that one to spit that one out quickly.
yeah.
It's like not even thinking about it. Oh, here it
Yep.
comes. So, and then final question: what are 4 things you are looking forward to?
Ooh. Um, my boyfriend comes home from tour tomorrow. He's been gone like most of the month. I get to see my family when I'm in Montana. I'm playing more shows than I ever have in a month
Nice.
this month. So excited to see how that goes. And I'm excited to release my little EP/album, whatever it's
Nice.
called.
Okay, I love that cover art. Was that
Thank you.
is I'm assuming that's like an actual photo?
It
It's not
is.
okay.
Yeah, Christina Coleman. She's brilliant and so fun to work with. She made this happen. So
Was that kind of your idea, or was it like a combination of the both of you, or?
I had a Pinterest board going, but
Mhm.
this particular pose was all her. Like she was like, I have this idea, you're gonna stick your head in the blinds. And I was like, yes, please. Thank you.
we're gonna we're gonna shut the lights off behind you, and we're gonna make this amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, she rocked it.
that's funny. And then the one thing that I did want to talk about, because you just brought it up, you mentioned that you're getting ready to play the most shows you've ever played in a month. What are you kind of doing to prepare for that? Are you like trying to figure out how to take care of your voice? Because obviously that's going to take a toll on your voice and whatnot. What are you kind of doing to prepare yourself for this increase in performing?
Yeah, just resting, making sure I'm not doing too much before traveling.
Mhm.
And yeah, general, just like eating well, taking vitamins, practicing,
Mm.
and then taking more vitamins, and then practicing again. So
Gotcha. So this was something that you had thought about as you were getting ready to go, as you started like booking out this tour.
like
Prepare
taking
like preparing yourself, because if you're used to performing 2 times a week and then you start performing 6 times a week, that there's got to be like either a gradual build up, or you got to like prepare for that, because
yeah. Yeah,
so
I guess I don't know, maybe I should give it some more thought too, because it is a jump, but
because and I only bring that up because early on during the pandemic, when we started doing the podcast online and I had a lot more availability, and I was like, oh yes, I'm going to do 3 podcasts a day, and you do that for a month straight, versus, okay, I used to do a podcast a week. That kind of takes a toll on you.
yeah, yeah.
That's a very extreme example, but you know, it's the best I got for you right now.
That's
So,
I'll let you know
um,
how it goes.
gotcha. Awesome. For anybody that wants to check out any of your music that you currently have out, want to catch one of these shows if they happen to be in the area, just interact with you on social, where's the best place to find you?
My website has links to anything that you could want, like socials and music and tour dates and stuff. And that's just my name, abigaylkompst.com. Or like, just go straight to Instagram or Spotify. I'm everywhere.
Awesome. Awesome. That's good to know. I'm glad we had a chance to sit down and chat. It's so crazy that like 48 hours ago we hadn't had any
I
conversation, and
know.
now here we are. Uh but really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with us. I told you 45 minutes and we are currently at 44, so we're doing
Thanks.
good. But really
So much
appreciate.
fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you everybody for tuning in. If you want to check out any of Abigail's music, if you're listening live now, it's in the description. If you are listening in the podcast feed, it is also in the description. And you can find all her music and all that fun stuff in any one of the links on the in the description there. But once again, thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it, and we will see you all later.